Get started here in a second. All right. How you doing, beautiful people? I just wanted to knock this out real quick. I wanted to do this since last week, and I haven't done anything, so I'm like forcing myself to do this shit right now. We're gonna do it real quick though. Probably not gonna do the whole thing. We're gonna try to get the most of the points though. And usually with Andrew Wilson, I mean, these things tend to reach like a certain point where they tend to get circular depending on whoever he's debating and what the topic is. So we'll see what happens here. But you know, it's Hotep Thursday. I want to catch Hotep's Vintage. I did technically plan on starting this earlier, but was having some technical difficulties. So you know, we'll see how much we can get through. There may be a part 2, may not. But I did just want to take a look at this one. I'll probably come with a better debate next time. But I haven't done anything really on like, you know, much of the political side. So I kind of wanted to do something like that too. Don't know how many of you guys are out there. You know, even if it's nobody, still get this done. We're about to hop into it. Just give me 1 sec. Make sure everything's good here.
Please.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, all right. Audio's working. Trying to be more consistent, y'all. You know, we'll see. You having shit to do. All right. Let's go. So this debate is going to be about the Trump deportations. This guy is saying that they do more harm than good. We'll see. Let's examine his argument.
This is a back-to-back weekend spent over here with the Raging Tomato. Thanks for having us, Sarah. Andrew, nice to meet you. I will say,
and I think like this is like the 3rd debate in like a series of debates that Andrew did this day. So I guess keep in mind that this is his 3rd debate this day. I think he hit like 200,000 subscribers or something. So he was doing a bunch of shit. I got bits and pieces of some of the other debates. One of them I think was about his Orthodox Christianity position, and then the other one was like whether men should support their exes, and then it turned into whether or not feminism was men or women's fault. I didn't think those debates were really worth covering. This one was more in line with what I would want to do a logical analysis on. Although like some of the parts about that the debate he did with the lady about whether feminism was men or women's fault got really philosophical. So it could be a very interesting logical analysis on that one. But I doubt that I'll dive into that one. But yeah, let's see what this guy's argument is. This is Andrew's 3rd debate of the day.
say that of all the people I've ever debated, you're the most universally hated. So that's generally the sign that you're a strong debater if one side hates you this much. So I'm looking forward to it tonight. I have the affirmative position that Trump deportations do more harm than good. I'm excited about this debate. Andrew, I know this is your 3rd debate of the night. Usually with men, a 3rd attempt in one night.
Yeah, like you said, 3rd debate of the night.
So I have a sneaking suspicion it'll last a long time, and I hope you can finish. And congratulations on 200,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. I heard that today, so congrats.
They say smoking causes impotence.
We'll see what happens. Let's start the economy. I believe that Trump's deportations do more harm than good. mostly economically. Undocumented immigrants are more good than, yeah, more harm than good. I got that right. Undocumented immigrants are a vital part of the United States workforce, especially in industries like agriculture, construction, food service, elder care. They fill jobs that are hard to staff. They pay billions in taxes, and they help keep prices down for American consumers. In 2023, undocumented immigrants paid just under $100 billion in federal, state, and local taxes and held about $300 billion in spending power. Removing them would shrink the labor force. It would reduce.
So I'm not gonna lie, I'm already. I kind of guessed that this would be his argument. It's kind of like the typical liberal argument, at least from the ones that are honest. Yeah, it's basically he's saying like we need their labor. That's what he's saying.
Productivity and hurt businesses that rely on their work. It would also multiple studies have shown that deportation would reduce U.S. GDP by up to 3%, which costs the economy hundreds of billions of dollars and leads to higher prices for everybody. Job losses for Americans would also increase. Deporting millions would not free up jobs for citizens. Instead, it causes labor shortages, forces businesses to close or relocate, and results in job losses for native-born workers as the economy contracts. 42% currently of our farm workers are undocumented immigrants. Without this labor force, crops go unharvested, fields aren't harvested, livestock.
All right, so I don't think he's necessarily wrong. My issue here would be we need evidence. Now, he's not wrong that this could happen in theory, like, you know, labor shortages and shit like that. But I mean, he's not really presenting any evidence with this. Not just his opening arguments. Maybe he'll support it later. But just right off the bat, I feel like it's kind of like there's a lot of like slippery slope fallacy going on here, at least from what I can see. Anime, what's up, anime fan? No, you're right. This is the argument he's basically making. Like, you know, well, it's not going to make it any easier for Americans because it's going to destroy our economy once we don't have cheap labor anymore. Like, I don't know how I feel about this argument.
May not be properly cared for or receive proper nutrition. Millions of tons of produce could be left unharvested due to a lack of workers. If we're successful in carrying out 3,000 deportations.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. The way he said that is like exactly how you put it there. Like he's basically, instead of saying slaves, he's just like, oh, look at all this cotton is not gonna be picked. Like it's basically like this is kind of crazy.
Per day, which is now mandated by.
And he might not be wrong, but I'm gonna need a little bit of evidence.
DHS, food prices are projected to increase by 10%, potentially more, just as supply drops and production costs increase. Shortages of domestic produce may force increased reliance on imports, further raising prices and reducing food security. The only real solution to this seems to be more factory farms with a need for capital infusion, which will likely be facilitated through government subsidies or capital investment, putting family farms in the hands of corporations. In a MAGA movement, this creates a stark deviation from the claimed goal of helping American farmers and getting off over processed foods and roided out meat. These shortages would lead to a devastated rural economy across the country, leaving us with either a need for welfare or a mass migration to bigger cities. Agricultural production could be decreased by 30 to 60 billion, according to THS, which is a program that connects consumers with farm workers. Many small and mid-sized farms may be forced out of business due to labor shortages and rising costs. Local economies that depend on agriculture suffer from lost jobs and reduced spending in local economies. Domestic workers who are not filling farm jobs aren't doing so despite aggressive recruitment efforts. The H-2A guest worker program is too costly and bureaucratic for many farms to use as a replacement for this. Automation, I don't think, is a viable solution for most crops.
His whole argument seems to be about like agriculture and like labor. This, I'm not gonna lie, this is it's, I mean, if you look at it, his name is the Dirty Lib. So I mean, he's living up to the name. He's most certainly living up to the name. This argument is what you would expect from a dirty lib. That's all I'm just saying. Like that's what you would expect. Oh.
Crops in the near term due to technical and financial barriers, processing plants, distributors, and retailers.
I don't know
face
what's
large
wrong
supply
with him.
shortages and higher costs impacting the entire food system. I think the fiscal.
But these would you gotta be aware though. Like these would be the same people that will argue for, you know, like fair wages and all this other shit or whatever. It's like, all right, yo, you know what would also destroy our economy? and have people lose jobs is if they were paying these people for fair wages. Because you really think these people getting paid fair wages? Like these immigrants that are working there are not getting paid fair wages. These people talk about living wages and all this other shit. Like, if they were to admit that they were getting paid like fair wages and living wages, wages that they're able to live on, they would be admitting that they're like artificially inflating what people should be getting paid for certain jobs. Because if that's enough for them to live on, why isn't it enough for somebody else doing another job to live on? Like it's really funny. It's really funny because how their arguments contradict each other in different areas.
Harm of these deportations is significant. It leads to higher costs, not savings. The average cost to deport one undocumented immigrant is somewhere between $10,000 and $24,000. I like to settle in the middle at $15,000. Mass deportation of
sped up
13
a
million
little
people
bit.
would cost at the very least $315 billion. I think a better estimate is somewhere around $800 billion. We lose the $100 billion in tax revenue, which includes $33.9 billion that goes into Social Security and $6.4 billion that goes into Medicare. And that's money that these illegal immigrants aren't able to collect. It props up both of these programs.
What tax revenue? What is he talking? What tax revenue is he talking about? Like they always say that the immigrants are paying. Yeah, what's like, what good is the labor if you can't underpay them? Like, there's no way they're paying them what they would pay somebody else doing that job. There's no way. Otherwise, like, why would you be paying for an immigrant? Because you put your business at risk too. Because if like they get deported like they are now, then you got to replace them. Whereas if they're a legal citizen, you could just pay them and you won't have to worry about that shit. Like, there's no upside except the fact that they're cheaper labor. That's like the only upside to it. So like he doesn't even, I'm not even sure if he realizes the argument that he's really making here.
States and local taxes, states like Texas, California, New York, they collect billions of dollars in additional tax revenue from these residents in forms of property tax, sales tax, local taxes.
Okay. So this is what he's talking about. Okay, so he's not talking about like tax directly from them. See, notice how all the taxes he's talking about, this is what I wanted to know, are indirect taxes. Whereas it's like, oh yeah, well, if an immigrant goes and buys a house, they're gonna pay a property tax. If an immigrant goes and buys something at the store, they're gonna pay a sales tax. So like, yeah, they're paying us taxes in areas that like everybody pays taxes but doesn't even think about it. It might have an impact, but I don't think it's that. Like, how are we properly even taking into account how much taxes these immigrants are paying on sales tax and property tax? Like, you might be able to do property tax, but I don't even know how to fuck. If you're an illegal immigrant, how the fuck are you even buying a house to pay property tax? Like, whose name is that house under? Can you buy a house if you're an illegal immigrant? Is that even a thing? Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. They do that. Yeah, yeah. But that's still like that's hard to track. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you even track that? Like, I don't even know where he's getting these numbers from.
I also believe that family separation and social disruption can't be measured in terms of data. Adding division into cities, counties, states in the country where there's no evidence of fiscal benefit is frankly baffling to me. It leads, I think, some people to think that possibly this is about cruelty, possibly this is about race, possibly this is about ethno-states. However, I wouldn't go that far. Mass deportations tear apart families. There's millions of U.S. citizens that are children here. They have
Okay.
undocumented parents. Deportations
Now we got
force
something other
either
than
a
money.
separation or a traumatic event in their life that traumatized children also would increase in foster care and social service costs. When immigrants fear deportation, they're also less likely to report crimes or cooperate with police, making communities less safe. And in some communities, this lack of trust moves communities to move towards gang admission for their protection and economic mobility. I think it has impacts on school. Children in mixed status families suffer academically and emotionally when a parent's.
He's a liberal though. Like, does he think that they should be relying on police? I'm not saying that like, having to rely on gangs and shit is a good thing, but like, I don't necessarily agree with this argument. I mean, like, I think people probably should rely more on like community, like not gangs, but they should probably rely more on community than like seeking out the police. They should be less likely to seek out the police. I mean, yeah, you're an illegal, but even American citizens should be wary of getting the police involved. And I mean, they used to. American citizens used to be like that. That used to be the norm. So, and especially like with a liberal saying that, like, I'm not sure if he was with the Black Lives Matter people or, all cops are bad, the ACAB type dude. But like, I would imagine he would agree to some degree.
Deported, and health outcomes generally worsen. I also think there is a moral and humanitarian harm.
Yeah, you're right. They use businesses to buy shit. Yeah.
I think maybe Andrew and I disagree on how important that is. I think due process violations are leaving Americans with questions to whether or not their government takes due process seriously. I've seen recent Republican proposals calling for the ending of protection for legal immigrants, including DACA and TPS recipients. I also think this has hurt our reputation around the world and may cause problems in the future with us recruiting people to come here to work, even if it's not for admission, for residency, but just to work. I see no net benefit to deporting this many people. I think the evidence is pretty clear on that.
I don't think Republicans calling for stuff is relevant to a debate about deportations. Just to like, I feel like he just wanted to say that. But like when we're talking about whether deportations are good or bad, it's like if those people aren't being deported and you're just talking about people, I've seen people calling for this or whatever. If they're not being deported, then that's irrelevant. That's like a non sequitur. I don't know why you even brought that up.
The best economic studies show that undocumented immigration has little to no effect on U.S. wages. Immigrants are less likely to commit crime. And while there are localized costs that sometimes in neighborhoods with a higher immigrant population, there sometimes are higher localized costs, but that's generally just education, and I'm fine paying for that. In conclusion, I think Trump's mass deportation agenda would inflict enormous economic, fiscal, and human harm while failing to deliver the promised benefits. It would make America poorer, less safe, and less true to what many of us perceive its values to be. And then
She said it makes little to no effect on U.S. wages. I'm not sure if anybody ever claimed that it had like some major effect on U.S. wages. It does have an effect, like he said, it's little to no effect. He's basically saying it's negligible. That's true. Yeah, because it's not even circulating in our country at that point. Yeah. But I mean, I'm still not sure how to like it doesn't really have much to do with deportation. Like I get I don't think anybody's ever said that it has some like super strong effect on wages. Like yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that argument anymore. So I don't even know why he threw that in there. But whatever.
And one last thing, I do know from watching YouTube videos about how to win a debate that sometimes you must intimidate your opponent. And so, Andrew,
All right, so
Wait,
all
is it an
right,
olive jar
so
or a pickle jar?
the funny thing is that Andrew was not even looking when he did that. That was fucking hilarious. But all right, so I still haven't seen his video yet. But apparently when Andrew was debating on like whatever with some feminists or some shit, they started talking about men and women opening up the pickle jar. And apparently Andrew needs some Apex because when they handed the bottle to him, he couldn't open it either. So what this guy was doing was he was making a joke about how Andrew, I guess he was trying to say he's scared of a pickle jar or whatever, but like he's making a joke about Andrew not being able to open up a pickle jar. So he opened one up in front of him. It was funny. What's even funnier is that Andrew was like looking down and away at the time, didn't even look like he saw it.
I know I don't have olives. It was not a one-to-one comparison.
It would have been better
Oh.
if the jar was sealed too.
I would have been able to open it, and then I would have looked like an idiot, Andrew.
Yeah, those are the
I had to look
rules.
tougher. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
RTP.
I'm not gonna lie, that bottle did not look like it was sealed. Just to be fair, that was probably just doing it like as a prop. Because if he had really had a hard time opening it, that would have been even funnier. Like you try to make fun of somebody for some shit, and then you do the exact same thing. That would have been comedy gold. I kind of wish that's what happened.
And Andrew, to you.
Okay, so I'm actually kind of surprised. These are kind of very basic leftist arguments. Most of them are pretty
Yeah, they
easy to
are.
refute. Kind of off the top immediately, Because you have the positive position, I didn't feel the necessity to create an elongated opening statement because I'm here to create refutations for your claims, not vice versa. As you have the positive
Let's see if I
claim,
can
we
speed
should
it up without it
allow
being
undocumented
too
workers
fast.
to stay. There was a whole bunch that was missing from that, though, and I feel like we should go into this. So first, he brings up the economy. This is kind of the idea you'll hear the most from progressives is that there's a lot of kind of economic benefits which come into the United States from undocumented immigrants. They never tell you the other side of that, which is that they're effectively creating a slave class. How do we know that they're effectively creating a slave class? Well, because my opponent literally just said so. He said
Yeah.
that their states will collect
See?
millions
Yeah.
upon millions of dollars in Social Security taxes from people who will never be the beneficiaries of said Social Security.
You
Now,
said the-
far be it from me,
Andrew
the way
caught that
you need to
immediately.
ask my opponent, how is it that the government is collecting Social Security taxes from people who don't have Social Security numbers? That's a very strange phenomenon, isn't it? No,
we was just talking about this. We were just saying this.
illegal, no Social Security number, yet able to collect Social Security taxes. Well, that's bizarre.
That's why, I mean, I wanted this to be quick. And like I said, Andrew usually manages to get it to a point where he wins fairly early on, especially when he starts picking apart the arguments. So we might not have to watch too much of this because it'll probably just get circular at a certain point. They'll just keep arguing about the same thing. I mean, it's supposed to be 3 hours. I know some of that's gonna be like reading super chats and shit, but I'm gonna try to get through as much as I can. And I kind of doubt I'll do a part 2, but we'll see how entertaining it is. Maybe I will.
And then at the same token, my opponent would probably be the first type to say, well, they're not over here doing identity theft in mass and stealing people's Social Security numbers and things like this. Why would he say that? Only somehow the state has devised some sort of evil plan in which they can exploit workers who have no Social Security numbers for millions of dollars in Social Security taxes. A bit bizarre from my end that there's no identity theft going on, yet somehow the state's able to do that. Super weird. I'm sure he can give us an accounting for that, though, except he won't. By the way, he says immigration would lead to
He really did.
3% of
It's
GDP.
over.
I would even be willing to grant this just for the sake of argument. Who gives a shit? Even if it does, we make up for it in the act of social cohesion. This very idea that this is such a dividing force in the American public that we need to create some sort of window dressing for immigrants to come in a very unfettered way, including illegally, and somehow that's going to unite us when we just got done watching the riots happen in California, which I'm sure my opponents will say, oh, those weren't riots, even though we literally watched them right here live every single night on 10 plus cameras, literally watching as they were doing battle with ICE and the military, throwing.
Yeah, Andrew was grifting overtime. He was streaming all of that shit like every day. I was getting a notification because I follow him on YouTube. I check out his shit every once in a while. Like he was following that shit. He's not lying. Every day.
Firebombs at them and everything else, he'll say, well, those weren't illegals. Those must have just been, domestically born Mexicans waving the Mexican flag, and it had nothing to do with illegal immigrants, even though the entire thing was about illegal immigrants and ICE doing their job and collecting them.
Yeah,
and
some of
sending
them
outside the
motherfuckers
nation, which is
getting
exactly what
arrested.
they're supposed to do.
Wow.
He says that there's going to. What about job losses for native born? The thing that's really interesting about this is if you were to get rid of all immigrant labor, the slave labor class, which is existing on these farms, which is paying apparently millions of dollars to our state, local, and even federal government through Social Security,
Literally
how is it
slave
that would
labor.
actually create job decreases for the United States? I have no idea how my opponent will reconcile this position. Seems to me like you have a supply and demand issue. If it is the case,
Yeah, I don't know how he's really gonna support that argument. Yeah, he he killing this shit right now.
the supply of workers goes down, the demand for workers goes up, thus wages for naturalized Americans to do those jobs would necessarily have to increase. They have no answer for this as well. He also points out that millions come here is moral argument who have undocumented parents, and their parents have the child here, and that Trump's policies are breaking up families. While I can grant that this is true, that's not really a moral argument. That's just a descriptor. He's just describing a phenomenon, not saying why it's actually immoral. He says, well, it's because it breaks up families. But it's like, okay, so does sending people to jail for crimes, that breaks up families.
Yeah.
So does creating economic conditions in which one parent has to work abroad, that breaks up families. There's all sorts of ways that we can construe that you can break up a family, which is not immoral. When it comes to this, though, he just asserts, well, it's somehow immoral that if both of your parents are here illegally and they have a child here who then immediately gets birthright citizenship, that you're breaking up the family. That actually would be a better argument for why you should give no birthright citizenship at all to children who are born here domestically from parents who don't belong here. Why? Because then you wouldn't break.
He's making a good point right now. He's making a really good point right now. That's a better argument for not giving birthright citizenship. Why? We don't want to tear up their family. Send them all back.
the family up, right? Then the child would have to necessarily go with the parents, which is exactly what they should be doing anyway. Instead, they use these children as linchpins, never intended for that, by the way. Even the Supreme Court ruling, which is pointing to this, there was never an intention ever for there to be people who did not have U.S. citizenship who could have a child on our continent, literally, in North America and in the United States, or any of the other places which are United States adjacent. Sometimes this is even argued right down to the province, that there are some places like Chile or things like this, which could be loosely associated with the United States, where a person could get citizenship that way. I've even seen leftists argue for that. Now, my opponent didn't, and so...
I mean, when people do that, I'm gonna just say, it's like the perfect recipe for sleeper cells, you know, inborn agents. It's like just, you know, they just come over here, pop out a baby, and they raise a fucking agent to fucking counteract and subvert your government from the inside. I'm just saying, that's an easy way to do that. When you let people do that unfettered, dangerous.
So for the purposes of not strawmanning him, I'm just pointing out, why in the world would you want to have a system in which you could have a child on our soil, right? And then they are declared an American citizen when their parents shouldn't even be here in the first place. That's insane. I would actually like him to tell me why it would be immoral to not grant them citizenship and rather send them back with their parents. That seems like the most moral thing that you can do. I would actually like to start there. He points out the moral and humanitarian harms. He says in protection for DACA immigrants and like I just said, birthright citizenship. When it came to DACA, so what? You implement a U.S. policy?
Yeah. We're not breaking up the family. They breaking up their own family. A lot of the time because they want to still get the benefits later on. Like once they kids is all established and got their shit together, they're like, oh yeah, bring us back over here or send us back some money and shit. Like, you know, they do that shit on purpose. Or they convince themselves that they just want their child to have a better future, you know.
We don't like how the policy turns out, so we change the policy. We do this all the time. Even if it's the case that Republicans want to end anything that has to do with DACA or making sure that people have a pathway to citizenship who aren't supposed to be here, I would also like to hear the moral argument for that. He just asserted that this is a moral argument. He just asserts, well, this is bad because I think it's fucking bad. Well, that's great, but that's not justification for why it's actually bad. So we can go through all of these things in sequence, but I'd actually like to start with this idea of the morality here when it comes to birthright citizenship and what his actual problems are there. And then I'm happy to, from there, move into these like economic quandaries that he thinks he has. So whenever you guys are ready, I'm happy.
Yeah, the moral argument is gonna be funny.
We dive right into it.
Thank you so kindly, Andrew. And as a kind reminder to the chat, of course, this is our grand finale, which means we will go into open panel post-debate. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through our discussion.
Oh, okay, so that's why it's 3 hours.
And then we're going to open up
probably because they went to open panel.
Fire. Gentlemen, the floor is
but
open.
They brought other people on.
Do you want to maybe restate the question where you wanted to start at, Andrew?
Yeah, why is it actually immoral to not grant birthright citizenship to the children of people who are in the country illegally? Why is that actually immoral?
I never said that.
So then I'm sorry, so what's the immoral argument?
I didn't make any moral arguments.
You did.
Why did you even bring it up?
This is actually immoral. The moral argument, which I will be making.
Like, see how you say, like, he didn't say that, but, like, all right, so why did you bring it up? Like, he doesn't get that the implication, because he's making the claim that it's like deportations are more bad than good, and then you bring up something specifically during your opening statement, which is supposed to be your argument for why that is the case, you're implying that it's a bad thing. So, like, I don't even know, why is he playing right now?
Making, and then you went into DACA and how we're breaking families up and how that's immoral. So can you
no, what I said that there are Americans who view it as a moral or humanitarian harm, and then I brought up due process violations, ending protection.
But we don't care about what Americans that view it. Do you view it as that, nigga? You're the one making the argument right now. See how you trying to do this obfuscation right now? You trying to back out of his own claim?
For legal immigrants and our international reputation.
Okay, so let's make sure that we get this right. It's not actually immoral for us to end birthright citizenship.
No.
Okay, great. So then when Trump moves to end birthright citizenship, your only objection is that's going to hurt you economically?
Yeah, I think it's just a dumb decision.
Because it's going to hurt you economically.
Probably not going to hurt me economically, but I think overall
it's going to hurt somebody economically.
I think overall for the country it has an impact on the country, and I don't see a reason why we should do that. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Well, of course it has an impact on the country, but you see how much this has devolved. Like he ain't even gonna say no. Oh, well, it's gonna have an impact on the country. Is that impact gonna be good or bad? If it's just gonna have an impact on the country, then it's just irrelevant to your argument. It's complete non sequitur. Why'd you even bring it up?
So it's not immoral to end birthright citizenship. The only reason that you don't want to end it is because you think that that's going to create more economic problems for more American citizens. Is that right?
I honestly don't care if we end birthright citizenship. I just don't want it done by executive order. I think it should be done through Congress.
Well, it's not being done through executive order.
Well, that's what he tried to do, right?
No, what he did was he used an executive order to get the ball rolling, so it got in front of the Supreme Court, which is what he said from the very beginning.
Fine, but I still think we should do it through Congress. But we're going to have to do, right?
And where's it being done? And where's it being done?
Through Congress.
Okay, well then I don't even understand that objection.
I don't have an objection to it. I said I don't care if we do it.
So then what's your issue here with the supposed humanitarian harms? I don't. Why did you bring up DACA, humanitarian harms?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Why the fuck did you even bring it up? Why did you bring it up? I hate when niggas do that shit. You sitting up here in a debate, you gonna bring up something during your opening arguments, and then when he starts addressing it, you're like, oh, well, I wasn't saying that it was actually relevant to my argument. Then what the fuck did you even bring it up for? Stay on topic. This is what I was saying when he said it. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that has to do with deportations if they're not getting deported. Like, it's not even part of it. Like, I said that. Did I not say that? Look at this nigga now. Tap dancing. He don't know what to do. He just backing off completely.
Well, why are you talking about birthright citizenship? That's not DACA.
I'm sorry. What is DACA?
DACA is what a deferred action. It wasn't necessarily birthright citizenship, right?
What is
it? Was also people who were brought here as children.
And it's a pathway to citizenship for them, right?
Yeah, that's not. I don't view that as the same as
why should we give that to them? Why is it
because I think it makes sense.
Yeah, but why is it immoral not to?
I don't care about morals. I have no
you don't care about morals. Okay,
no,
you have no position on morals. Great.
No.
Okay, so it's not immoral for us to end DACA, and it's not immoral for us to end birthright
So his
citizenship.
whole argument is going to be
perfect.
economic.
I just think it's dumb.
Okay, you just think
it's dumb.
You just think
I do want to point out real quick that you seem.
He thinks it's dumb. He just thinks it's dumb. His whole argument is going to be economic. Trust me. Like, we basically just going to get down to the fact that, like, his whole argument is that they want the cheap free labor, basically slave labor. Like, Andrew got him right out the gate.
Seem to maybe be having a different debate than me.
I don't think I am.
You said that
tie it together.
Well, just real quick.
Yeah, the DACA shit. Yeah, like everything.
You said that my claim is that we should allow immigrants to stay. What I said is Trump deportations do more harm than good. That's my claim.
Is that immoral?
I don't care about morality. It's irrelevant to me.
But I'm going to try to explain something to you so that you understand. It's very important that you understand this.
Yeah,
if you make this claim
morality,
that the reason we should do X is because if we don't, it's stupid and bad. It's bad to do X. It's not good. Are you saying that it would be bad, or you're just neutral on the fact that we could cost ourselves 3% of the GDP?
Yeah, I think I laid that out. Economically, it's a bad idea.
Okay, so then it's immoral.
No, I don't know. It's not based on
Then
morals.
what does fucking bad mean?
Math. I don't like the
bad
math. I don't
means
like the
math?
math. I don't like the math on it.
Can we back it up? Can we back it up? Because
I'm not gonna lie. He did just answer math. I don't know if he didn't really let him finish the question, but he did just answer math when he said, "What does bad mean?" Yeah. They like, it's actually kind of crazy the benefit you would get. And this is why the funniest thing is, well, when they ask you, you know, are you Hispanic or Latino? Like when they ask you your demographics, your background, your ethnicity and shit, people will be surprised the amount of shit you could get and little benefits they give you, support they give you if you claim, you know, you're Hispanic or Latino and that you're either like an immigrant or a child of an immigrant or whatever. Like, you'd be surprised.
harm can dive into.
Well,
the
what does bad
morality
mean here?
Concept.
It means the math is negative. That would be
Okay,
bad,
why is that bad though? What makes that bad?
because I don't like losing money.
I'm sorry. When you
Yeah,
say
but-
bad, I can grant that there could be two forms.
See, the problem with this argument is that the reason we're doing this is not purely for economic reasons, right? There are a lot of economic reasons involved, but if we're saying like it does more harm than good, well, if some of the good is in another area, like even just as far as like if we're deporting like people who are committing crimes, even if they're working, you can be working here, we could be getting tax money from you, and you could also be committing crimes. I would be willing to sacrifice whatever money we're getting from you to get you out of here if you're committing crimes. Like it's just a one example of how it's doing less harm to get rid of you, because the economic factor is not the only thing at play there.
Forms of bad.
Sure.
I'm having a bad day, right?
Right.
That sucks, right? Because I'm having a bad day. That's a Common's word, a use of the word bad, right? But if I say like murder is bad, I'm saying that that's an immoral thing, right? You would agree with me on that?
Sure, whatever. Whatever.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So
Right.
when you say that contracting necessarily 3% of the GDP is bad, do you mean as in I'm having a bad day, or as in this is going to be immoral because the outcomes for people is not going to work out very well?
Neither. You just said it. You left out one part. Like if I make less money, that's bad. But that's not really moral. That just
Like
I'm
bad
making
is in a
less money.
bad day?
Sure, it's bad for my finances. Sure.
Okay, so then all you mean by bad here is the same as you would
You
mean
said
with...
bad. You said bad. I said okay.
No, no, I
think
asked
the math
you...
Is, I said
hang
I
on.
think the math is bad.
Yeah, so then I didn't say bad,
result.
you said bad, right?
I was responding to you saying, but that's fine.
Yeah,
Semantics.
so
He's getting bad confused with negative. And just because something is negative in an area where you would like it to be positive doesn't inherently mean that it's bad. You can view it as bad, but that's like a personal preference thing. And you may even be able to logically defend why it's quote unquote bad because it should be preferred that it's in the positive. But at the end of the day, like if we say like the numbers of murder are negative, that's bad math. Like no, it's like we don't want murder numbers to be high. So you don't always want the numbers to be higher, and it's not always a positive just because, or it's not always good just because it's in the positive, right? You can sacrifice sometimes and get something else on the other end, because I mean most of this shit is trade-offs. You got to see what are you trading off with.
So when you say, well, hang on, semantics are super important for debate, and that's why I'm trying to get these things clarified. You mean
No,
you
I think
so?
I would like to talk about the. Well, I think what you're trying to do is drag this into a moral argument because I don't
No.
think you have numbers to back up anything.
I'm
you're
just
saying.
starting
That's
with-
why my argument specifically didn't talk about morals, Andrew. I talked about actual data.
It doesn't have to be about morals, because when you're talking about data and you say good or bad with data, I mean to be fair, in a conversation about data, good or bad has no place. You would really just be talking about like, okay, what is preferred here? What do we want here? Like what are we looking for? What kind of results do we want? And how do these numbers reflect on those results? So like if we want positive numbers and we have negative numbers, what does that mean? Is that good for us, quote unquote?
I'm looking at the economic impact of these people, and you want to talk to me about morals. I'm not interested in that conversation.
Well, can I try to explain to you and give you an expression of
Sure.
why this is so silly to me? If the economic data that you want backed up, even if I were to grant that you're completely correct, but you say it's not a moral proposition, why the fuck should I even care?
You don't have to care.
Why should anybody care?
You don't have to care.
No,
I'm not asking. I'm not. We showed up for a debate. I gave the prompt. Trump deportations do more harm than good. I didn't sign up to debate.
Is
whether or
harm
not you should
okay?
care.
Is harm bad?
In this case, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, so harm is...
He's just applying logic. This is why he said he's trying to get the semantics figured out. And this guy's just kind of being obtuse. He's just like, oh, well, I'm just taking like a neutral position. I'm just saying that, you know, he's basically just trying to say it's objectively bad because the numbers, like he can give you numbers that say it's negative on the economic side. Like he can give you numbers to say that, oh, well, we're going to be losing money. So that's inherently negative. But he's missing that like economics isn't even all about like positive numbers. Like there are other aspects of economics that you have to look at, and then you got to actually get into the numbers. But once you get into those numbers, you do end up making a moral claim at the end of the day. You basically can't avoid it. Like when you say good or bad, you're basically making a moral claim, especially in terms of like what a country should or shouldn't be doing, and whether or not it's causing harm. Like specifically something like harm too. Like just because you're losing money doesn't necessarily mean it's harm, quote unquote. I mean, like we're already like, you know, trillions of dollars in debt. So like, you know, losing some tax money, is that really like harming us so much? Like, is it really?
Harm is immoral.
I don't care about morals, dude. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want to do.
Because I'm just
What are we
trying to
doing?
figure out what you mean by bad.
No, what you're trying to do is drag me into a moral argument because
No,
you
I'm
have
just
a
trying
mor-
to
you have
figure
a-
out
your
what you mean by
position is-
bad.
Your position is based on your morals. My position is based on math, which is why I don't have like this universal look. A lot of the things that you accuse me of, you're like, here's what people on the left do. You thought I was going to be against birthright citizenship. You think I'm against deportations. You think that I am pro illegal immigration.
No, he thought you were against birthright citizenship being taken away because you brought it up in your argument that it's more bad than good.
Not pro any of those things. It seems like you didn't listen to a word I said in my opening statement and just decided from the get-go that you were going to have a moral discussion here.
No, I went down each point that you made and gave a refutation in my own intro.
No, you missed most
Yeah.
of them.
When you're discussing this though, listen, it's not a gotcha. I'm not...
Because for some reason he's not thinking about economics in the long term. He's just he's got this very like short term view. It's like, well, initially this might happen. Like, and it's like, I mean, first of all, you need to show us that this would actually happen, but before we even get there, it's like, I mean, like, what do you mean by good or bad? Like, I mean, it's a good place for Andrew to start, to be honest.
Not even looking for the moral discussion.
Okay.
All I'm looking for right now is to clear up semantics so that we understand we're not speaking past each other. If you're just coming in to say, oh, the numbers look good on our side, great, who cares? That's not what the argument is about. The argument is about whether it does more harm than good. So when we say things like a harm principle or a good principle, right? If you're neutral on the fact that if there's economic output, which is problematic, I win the debate by default because you haven't demonstrated there's any harm, because harm's not bad. Or if you say good, when you say good, I assume that you mean that this is something which is positive, the opposite of harm, and so that's a more moral proposition. So either of those say more harm. When you say harm and good, do you mean moral, immoral? If you mean something else by harm or good, then I want to get those semantics cleared up so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I cleared that. This is like the 5th time I cleared it up. Right? Economically, it's bad for our country. I think it does harm to our economy.
Bad meaning what?
Bad meaning the numbers are negative.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell me anything. So anytime
What else
numbers
do you want me to tell you?
is anytime numbers are negative, is that bad?
No.
That's exactly what I was saying. See, like, just because numbers are negative does not mean it's inherently bad. Why is it bad?
Well, negative numbers.
Okay,
right.
That's what he's asking him right now.
In golf.
Sure. So the negative numbers don't just mean bad. So when you say bad,
in this case, it's
and what makes that bad though?
Because there's less money circulating through our economy.
Yeah, but that's just giving me one step further in the descriptor, not telling me what bad actually means.
I'm not interested in a semantic debate about what bad means. Andrew.
It's not a semantic debate. It's clarifying what you mean by the thing.
You're talking about the harm.
He's just not. See, he's like, he thinks he's trying to get into a semantic debate. He's like, no, he wants you to make it clear what you mean by bad so he can pick it apart. It's not semantics. He's just, once you tell him what bad means, then he can make an argument for why it's actually not bad. But if you don't tell him what bad means, he can't really do that, because you're trying to make a neutral position while making an argument that it's bad, which is just fucking ass backwards.
Harm principle. You're setting parameters on this debate.
What's the debate
so that we can.
Yeah, what's the debate topic?
Not what is the harm principle. There's lots of definitions.
What
of harm.
is the debate topic? Just tell me what the debate topic is.
Deportations do more harm than good.
Is it appropriate for me to ask you what harm and good mean when the debate prompt is specifically alluding to both of those things?
Yeah, I think that it's not the harm principle though. You can use the word harm in many different ways.
And those are the ways I'm trying to get you to.
And I'm saying that this is a way that it is delivered.
Yeah, you can use it in multiple different ways. And he's asking you, which way are you using it? That's all he's asking you. Oh my God. Oh man. So I might actually do a part 2 of this. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's our numbers are already in the negative anyway, in multiple different ways if you look at it. So it's like, just going in the negative a little bit more in one area really be that bad? Like, would it be that bad? And then, like, we haven't even gotten to like supporting the claim that the numbers really would go down, like, because he just kind of asserted it, and I guess referenced some numbers supposedly from some people, but he didn't really like go through it. We haven't dived into any of his supposed evidence yet, so we don't even really know if those claims are true.
Deliberately inflicted on our economy. Deliberately inflicted.
Okay,
that is a definition of harm.
Yeah. So do you realize, like, immediately the problem that you have here?
No.
So well, I'll explain it to you.
Thank
so
you.
When you say this has nothing to do with some principle or anything like that. When you say more harm than good, you're saying that there's a negative there, and the negative outcome, I would guess, is the harm, right?
Yeah, well, in this case, I think that we are deliberately inflicting damage to our economy, and the outcome of that is a less stable economy.
And that's bad.
Yeah, sure.
So that would be immoral.
Great, it's immoral.
Okay, so it's immoral. So when you say harm in this case, you're saying this thing is immoral.
I'm not saying any of that. You are. If we whatever we have to do to move on from this shit, that would be great.
I just need you to not equivocate.
I know it's frustrating because you want to have a moral debate. No. I would like you to outline anything I said, and we can discuss whether it's good or bad.
Okay, I'll explain.
I don't think he understands that, like, bad and good are inherently moral. Like, you know, you can have positive and negative. You know, you got positive electrical charges and, you know, negative. I think technically, I think electrons are technically still like just like negative charge or whatever. But whatever. But you understand what I'm saying. You can have positive charge, you can have a negative charge, whatever. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad, right? It's just like you're just stating like a fact of matter. This is why Andrew said like it was kind of just like descriptive. Like, unless you're saying that one is less preferable than the other, or there's something inherently wrong with one in particular, like, there's no point in even like making the argument. That's why he's saying, like, you're basically saying, so you're saying it's immoral when you say it's bad. because like, yeah, what else does that mean?
Explain this to you so that you
Thank you.
understand. Pull up the equivocation fallacy for me and read.
No.
Okay. Do you need me to pull
Pull
it
up the
for you?
definition of harm.
Yeah, I'll pull up the definition of harm.
Okay.
There's going to be a multitude of
There
definitions.
isn't.
but I'll give
Right,
you-
so
This,
what-
this is a good point that Andrew's making. He's probably not going to look it up. He's probably going to have to explain it to him. But yeah, the equivocation fallacy, because he's acting as if like harm, or not even necessarily harm. He's acting as if like negative equals bad. But that's not the case, right? He Andrew even asked him, and he admitted that it's not the case. But his argument kind of relies on that being the case.
So why are you picking harm principle instead of one of the
Well,
definitions
because
I'm using of harm?
that's
It's my claim.
yeah.
It's me telling you what my claim
Yeah, I
means.
know what your claim is, but your claim has to have meaning to me. So the thing is I'm going to pull up. I'll pull up your definition or all definitions of harm. You can pick one. I'm fine with that.
And typically, when I do a logical analysis, I do call out fallacies. I try to call out particular fallacies. That one I didn't really miss it. I just didn't call it out, but I did explain like, yeah, it's like it's not negative doesn't equal bad.
Sure. I just did. I told you it was deliberately inflicted destruction of our economy.
So that you understand the equivocation fallacy, I'll read it for you verbatim. These aren't even gotchas. It's not even trickery. I'm just trying to get the semantics out of the way so we can get to the debate. Equivocation is the use of ambiguous language to conceal the truth or avoid committing to a specific stance. That's what equivocation is.
That's
It involves
literally what
using
he's
words or
doing.
phrases with multiple meanings in a way that can mislead the listener or the reader. So the reason
I just
wanna
told
be-
you what the meaning was. I
Can
just
you-
told you three times
bro, can you
what
chill
my
out?
meaning was.
Hold on,
Can you just chill
hold on.
out?
Finish.
I
Just chill
can,
out.
but this is silly.
It's not silly.
He's spurging.
It's just that you're not used to actually having to commit to your stance. So equivocation is the use of ambiguous language to conceal
Literally, yeah, he won't commit to his stance.
the truth or avoid committing to a specific stance. I'm saying that you're guilty right now of using an equivocation fallacy in your arguments because you won't make such a firm stance on what harm means.
I disagree.
Okay, then what does harm mean?
Deliberately inflicted destruction to our economy.
Okay, so that's all harm means?
In this case, that's what it means. Harm can mean different things at different times. But
So
right now, I'm
just-
explaining how.
I don't think harm means that in any time. I don't think at any point that's what harm means. Just deliberately inflicted damage with not like what?
I'm using the word.
Okay, and if you're deliberately hurting the economy, should that be avoided?
In my opinion, yeah.
Okay, in your opinion, yes, it should
It doesn't
be
have
avoided.
to be deliberate.
Is that because it's going to have
Like harm doesn't have to be deliberate. So like I don't like there's no definition of harm that I think that really fits. Like
negative outcomes on people?
Yes.
he could have just said hurting the economy, but for some reason he threw deliberately in there. Like it doesn't matter whether it's deliberate or not. Like harm is harm.
Okay, yes, it will have negative outcomes. Yes, it will have negative outcomes. And are negative outcomes a thing which we should avoid?
I think when we can, sure.
Okay, negative outcomes should be avoided. So, negative outcomes avoided. So, to summarize your position on harm, deliberately hurting the economy should be avoided because it will have negative outcomes. Negative outcomes should be avoided. So,
When we can.
when
we
okay, I'll even add that just
Thank
to be super charitable when we can. So, does that mean that if we're not avoiding negative outcomes when we can, that's bad?
Sure.
Okay, so it's bad
There you go. We finally got an answer to the question.
not to do that. It's bad not to do that. When I say bad here, do we mean that this is immoral? In other words, is it immoral to deliberately hurt the economy because that should be avoided because it'll have negative outcomes, and negative outcomes should be avoided when we can?
I don't know that has anything to do with morals.
You don't know that it has anything to do with morals. I'm sorry. So it's not a moral proposition to say that we ought to avoid X thing.
I keep telling you
because
none of
it's
these are
bad.
moral propositions.
They're all moral propositions, every one of them.
How are they moral propositions?
Because when you say bad, you're making a moral entanglement there, and you're saying that because the outcome is
That wasn't
negative,
moral.
should an
Wasn't moral.
outcome which is negative be avoided?
No, I think the problem that we have here, Andrew, is that you think that I'm going to extend my position on immigration across the board, and that I'm always going to choose. And I think this.
See, like he's literally giving an ought. This is why he asked, so that you think we should avoid the negative outcomes. And he was like, yeah, we should, when we can. All right, so that's an ought. And as soon as you give like an ought claim, you say like the opposite is something that you ought not do, you're saying that it's bad. You have now made a moral claim.
This is the problem with this debate. You think I'm always just going to choose to never do anything that has a negative outcome. I think in this instance, it's pretty easy to look at what's happening. It's pretty easy to say, where is the benefit? I don't know of any. You can maybe tell me what the benefits might be. I don't see any benefits to mass immigration, especially when there's sensible solutions like granting amnesty to people who are here, whose only crime is being here illegally, who have been working for decades. I think that there are legitimate solutions, and it feels like you want to have a moral, philosophical discussion instead.
Wait. Did he just ask for benefits to mass immigration? I feel like I don't know if that was a Freudian slip or what. Like he's just like, did he argue against his own point?
Well, what you're making there is a moral claim that the thing should be avoided because it has a negative impact on X group. Therefore, it's, I mean, how do you get around the fact
Yeah,
that that's a moral
that's a
claim?
moral
exactly?
claim. How do you
Look,
get
I think
around
that
it?
there's very few things that happen inside of a country where there is a government, where no matter what side you take, there's going to be a negative outcome to somebody. Right, so I'm looking at what do I think affects.
Yeah,
Yes.
so then I would just counter and say I can even agree that any type of policy you have will have some disaffected people from that policy,
Right.
whether they're the rich or the middle. But you would just say that that's a moral entanglement, that it is moral entailment, that if the rich suffer so that 10,000 poor people get their meals, you would just say that that's a moral trade-off, right? But these are all moral so these are all moral propositions. So I'm just trying to get to the heart of what good and bad. In this case, more harm than good. We're trying to figure out what the good is from your view. What is the good? Is the good GDP? Is that what the moral proposition is? More GDP good? Is the good social cohesion? What is the good?
Do you want me to read the whole opening?
The good for him is slave labor.
Again?
if you can read in the opening statement what the good is.
Yeah, so it protects us from GDP growth. It keeps wages at least stationary. There's $300 billion or so in spending power that is immediately taken away if you get rid of all those people. You're going to lose, especially in rural communities that require migrant labor, both legal and illegal. That's drying up now. So I live in Arizona, down in Yuma, Arizona. They're having a hard time finding even legal laborers who used to come here because they're afraid.
Yeah,
I think it hurts farmers, and I think that pushes us more towards factory farming, which I think is a problem for all Americans. I think it's a problem for all of our food supply to have that fall into the hands of factory farmers.
Sure. So you're giving me descriptors.
So he's worried about factory farming, I guess.
Things which you consider to be problematic, but you haven't actually told me what the good is that we're supposed to be going for here. What's the good? What does good mean here?
What is the good?
Yeah, because more harm than good. So now we've determined that harm is deliberately hurting the economy, I guess for this specific instance, and that should be avoided. And yes, it'll have a negative outcome, which is why it should be avoided. Negative outcome should be avoided when we can.
Tortilla stocks are down.
And it's bad to do that. That's your claim on harm. I'm just trying to figure out what your claim on good. What is the good?
Well, I don't think it's doing any good. I don't think these deportations are doing any good.
Well, that's just evading what the question is. What is the good?
How would I tell you what the good is if I don't think it's doing any good?
Because the proposition here, well, just wait a second.
Because if you're gonna say something is doing more harm than good, then you have to have a clear definition of what the harm is and what the good is. Like, and in this situation, like in this framing, you're literally replacing bad with harm. So harm just means bad here.
Second, this is bizarre to me that you would state that you don't think a thing is doing any good, but won't tell me what the good is.
Well, I don't know what I don't know.
You don't know what that means?
No, I don't know
what good means.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm gonna have to wrap it up soon because I'm trying to catch Hotep Told You, but like, I don't know. I might have to do a second part of this one because I didn't know this was gonna be so fucking funny. Like, this guy's being obtuse as fuck right now. Like, he's literally, bro, the fucking debate prompt is your claim. The Trump deportations are doing more harm than good. And a nigga asks you, so what would be the good? And he's like, I don't know. I'm supposed to tell you what the good would be. Nigga, you're the one that's saying it's doing more harm than good. What would be good for you? That's all he's asking. Like, holy shit. This is, bro, talk about obtuse.
I don't even know what their intention is.
So you don't know what good is, you don't know what bad is, you don't know what harm is?
How would I tell you what the good is if I don't think it's doing any good?
I don't know. The proposition is...
What do you mean? If you don't think it's doing any good, bro, like, is this like an appeal to ignorance? How would I know what the good is if I don't think it's doing any good? Well, if you say that you don't think it's doing any good, then like, what does that even mean if you don't know what good is? Like, we literally shouldn't even listen to you if you don't know what good is. And you say, oh, I don't think it's doing any good. Well, what does good mean? Well, I don't know. I just don't think it's doing any of it. So you don't think it's doing any of the thing that you don't know what it is. Just niggas are retarded, bro. What the fuck is this? What is this? Like, yeah, like, what is this? It's like saying, like, bro, like, yo, like, I think black people are inferior. Well, what does inferior mean? Well, I don't know. I just think blacks are that. All right, bro.
Is good or harm. So I don't know what debate you're prepared for, but it was, does it do more harm than good? So tell me, sir, what the fuck is the good?
I don't think there is any good.
You don't think there is any good. So
No.
so then it's just, does it do more harm?
So, like, you think it does more harm than this thing that you don't think exists? Like, this is, we've basically gotten to this point. Like, he doesn't even, like, good doesn't even exist. Well, then how would it do good then? It could only do harm with your understanding of the world. Because obviously things can only do harm. unless you know what the fuck good is.
The nothing.
Yeah, well, I think that wait, why?
He can't even say the opposite of bad. Like he can't even say the opposite of harm. He can't even get the opposite game right. Like we already know that the opposite of bad is good. So like all he would really have to say is just like, well, not the thing that I said it was bad. But he's I don't even believe he's actually that stupid. He's so fucking dishonest. He doesn't want to admit that it's just like the opposite of whatever he thinks is bad. Because he doesn't actually have like a real intellectual like or a thought through take on this. It's just like, oh well, money go down bad. That's basically he's already admitted that.
Why does it have? Why can't it be? Why does it have to be good here? Why does
Because you just said there is no. Because that's the.
Why does it have to be good here? I hate these niggas. I hate these niggas, bro. I hate these niggas. Bro, his name is Dirty Lib. And he is really living up to the name right now. Yeah, he's 5th grade essay writing. I don't even say 5th grade, bro. Like elementary schoolers can tell you, like, bro, toddlers can tell you that's good. And then that's bad. Like even a toddler would understand like the opposite of good is bad or the opposite of bad is good or whatever they think is bad. The opposite of that is what they think is good. Even a fucking toddler could tell you that. So he's either that fucking stupid. He's either more stupid than a fucking toddler, or he's just a fucking liar because he knows he's gotten caught here.
The proposition
Why does-
does
I
it
don't
do
think
more
there's
harm than good? And your response
one is
there is no.
I feel bad for Andrew sometimes because these motherfuckers are just so dishonest, bro. There's no way you're this fucking stupid, bro. How did you get through life this fucking stupid?
Good.
It can do zero good.
There's no
Okay,
way.
but what's the prompt? What's the
Jesus
prompt?
fuck. Are we gonna do this? Are we gonna do semantics on that?
Until we
Really-
get the semantics
this
clear,
is-
yes.
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever.
Well, I'm glad you don't care, but I care.
This is
So
so
what is the
fucking
good?
This is like the dumbest conversation.
You want
I've
me
ever
to meet you?
You're the one who's making it dumb. It does not. It would not be dumb if it were not for you, right? Andrew is being really good faith here right now. Like this is not bad faith at all. He's just trying to understand what you mean as far as the prompt goes, so he can start to take apart your argument. But he can't even get there because you won't even admit to your argument. Like he's like backtracking on his argument basically.
You
You
want me to?
talk about immigration and not what
Yeah.
fucking words mean.
So then stop
You-
equivocating. Stop equivocating then.
Gentlemen,
Jesus
if I can
Christ.
maybe kind of pry in for a moment.
Yeah, let's see if Sarah can clear this up. I'm about to wrap up soon, but let's see if Sarah can clear this up because I might have to. I mean, the debate basically is over already. This nigga's an idiot, but I might do a second part to this because I'm fairly entertained at this point.
Maybe offer a thought process, RTP, in terms of the harm concept here. Like for instance, if you have a company and they're running a product and they have a recall on it, right? Because things are going bad. Like what they do to even think about what that recall would be is it
Shout out to Sarah the Raging Tomato.
more money to pay out for lawsuits that are going to come our way, or is it kind of cheaper in essence to recall the item and replace all the stuff? And that comes through like the general harm of things.
So what would be the good there?
So the good would be people get their shit fixed, or people get payouts for having, they get in a car accident because the brakes don't work, right? So there are good pieces built in, but also there's the harm principle that's built in behind it, and it's the ethical standard in any like economical stance, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we might make more money, but ethically, are we good?
So what if the people don't get their car fixed or they don't get their money back? Then is there a good there?
How do if they don't know about it, or what?
The harm, right, was the destruction to their vehicle, right?
Right, that would be.
And if
another
nobody
worse
fixes it,
harm.
if nobody fixes the vehicle or pays them damages, where's the good?
The good would be the company didn't lose any money.
Okay, so the good here is that Donald Trump gets
But
to
then, is it
fulfill a
good?
Unless that's
campaign promise.
bad.
Is
Unless
it
that's
Donald
good,
bad.
though?
Okay, then
So-
Donald Trump gets to fulfill a campaign promise. There's my good then.
and so that's where I say, like,
He's also like, for some reason, he can't seem to understand that like whether or not the thing is being done or not, there's still like a good. There's just like theoretically speaking, some kind of like way of fixing this would be what would be considered good. Whether or not it's actually being done or not is irrelevant. But that's what you would have to consider good if the opposite of that is bad, or whatever the problem is bad. Fixing it would have to be good, right? If it's actually a problem and you consider the problem to be bad, well, then fixing the problem will be good, obviously.
like there are a lot of ethics to economical stances, and I think that's maybe what Andrew's trying to poke at.
In
correct me
this
if I'm
case, I'm not even attempting to do that. I'm not even attempting to get into the ethics. I'm just simply trying to.
Yeah, and they want to pretend like nobody is taking these jobs. That's what they want to pretend like. No, like nobody's actually like filling these roles once they're gone. Like it's not fucking true, especially in things like construction. You're right.
make sure that we don't equivocate. Equivocation being the use of ambiguous language where you mean something by it, I don't mean. I mean something by it, you don't mean. Right now, I don't even know what you mean by these terms because the entire time you've been yelling at me that you don't want to clarify what any of them mean. And that to me is absurd. We're here to have a debate. I need to know exactly what you mean by the terms in the debate proposition, harm or good. Hang on. In this case, I'm simply asking you, now that we have literally a definition for what you consider harm to be, and I read it out to you, agreed to it multiple times, I'm just asking for the same standard for what good is.
So the good would be that Donald Trump gets to fulfill a campaign promise then.
Does that mean all good? So when you say,
Jesus Christ, bro, what the fuck?
yeah, I don't know what you're laughing about. This is how you debate.
I'm laughing at this. I think this is ridiculous. Like I think this
you
is
can
crazy.
think it's ridiculous. And
I would love to.
I
I would love to at some point talk about immigration.
I would love to at some point get you to clarify what you mean
so
by the
good
terms.
is to be desired or approved of. The desire in this case would be Donald Trump fulfilling a campaign.
I don't even think he knows the debate about. The debate isn't about immigration. The debate is about deportation. You're talking about whether deportation causes more harm than good. You're not debating about immigration. It's related to immigration, illegal immigration, but that's not what the debate is about. I don't think he understands this. I think he might actually be that stupid. I might have been wrong. I might have been being a little too good faith. He might actually be dumber than a fucking fifth grader. He's not. It's funny you said the fifth grade essay writing skills. It's like, remember that show? Are you smarter than a fifth grader? I don't think he'd do too well in that show. I don't think he would. I ain't even gonna act like I would, but it's not looking good for Dirty Lib right now.
Promise. Now I've used the word good correctly and told you what I mean by it. I've used the word harm correctly and told you what we mean by it. Now, is it possible that we can talk about immigration?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure that that we're clear on both these terms. You agree to them. That
Lost in the
harm's
sauce.
deliberately hurting the economy, and that should be avoided, and that it will have negative outcomes, and negative outcomes should be avoided when we can, and that's bad, and that's what you mean by harm, and that's what you mean by bad, and good to you just means to be desired or approved of.
Neat.
Is that right?
Sure, dude. Sure.
Okay. All right. Now we got that cleared up. So what's your question?
I didn't ask you a question. You were asking me questions. I don't have questions.
Oh, I see.
You haven't really made a position yet. You strawmanned my entire opening monologue.
See how I could have strawmanned
you said that you brought up Social Security and that I would say that they're not stealing Social Security numbers. Of course, they're stealing Social Security numbers.
And is that to be desired? Is that to be desired or approved of?
No.
So it's not good.
No, that's why I want amnesty to get these people to pay in legally.
So okay, I see.
He wants amnesty.
So the position here is that's really.
So he wants us to let him off for some shit that an American would be raked through the coals over.
Really bad. Then the economic argument in which you're making that there's millions of dollars going to the government, which they don't have to account for, actually is negated instantly because what you really want to do is make sure that the local governments don't get that money anymore unaccounted for, right?
No, incorrect. Because of it's a small minority of people who are using a stolen Social Security number. Most people working illegally don't do it with a stolen Social Security number. So giving those people Social Security numbers would increase the amount they're paying into Social Security and Medicare.
Wait, back up for me. Okay. Most people who are paying into Social Security illegally are not using a Social Security number.
No. Most people working illegally are not using a Social Security number and therefore not contributing to Social Security.
Oh, I see. So then all of the people, so then what you're actually saying is that there's hundreds of millions of dollars which are unaccounted for, which are going to illegal immigrants in the terms of service in the state that we can't even account for because they can't even be tracked through Social Security?
No, I accounted for that when I talked about the money that they're paying into local taxes through things like sales tax, property tax if you're a renter.
What does that have to do with Social Security, though?
It doesn't have anything to do with Social Security.
Yeah, so we're just talking about Social Security. So if it is the case, then that you wanted to have a Social Security,
then maybe I misunderstood your question.
Yeah.
Where's this?
They never do seem to think about the people that are actually going through the legal process and how the illegal immigrants affect them. They never seem to think about those people. They never do. They'll mention them to like try to push some other argument or support some other argument, but they never think about them. It's crazy. They never think about them niggas. It's always about the illegal immigrants. Why is that? Y'all just conveniently forget all the people that they fuck over.
Where's this floating money then? What are you talking about?
That's actually what my question is about. I'm asking you specifically. If it is the case that you're saying that the reason that we need to give these people amnesty is that we can issue them Social Security numbers and thus track their contributions, when I pointed out that doesn't make any sense because then your economic argument, which is stating that the government should have all this free money that they then don't have to spend back on these immigrants, is negated. You said, no, it's not actually.
I'm not streaming a zero. All right. But yeah, I would like to stream to more people. I'm not falling for no scams though. So nice try, buddy.
Because there's millions of more dollars that they would be collecting if they gave other immigrants who don't do that
a Social Security number, and then they would pay into Social Security, and then our receipts for Social Security would go way up.
And that would be an entailment.
10 baby mamas crammed in a ranch house.
then that right now there's millions upon millions of laborers who outnumber the amount of laborers who are spending into the Social Security system, who are getting goods and services and aren't
Well, nobody
contributing at all.
that's illegal.
They are wiring that money back to Mexico. A lot of that money is going back down there, and not even just Mexico. It's a lot of people from a lot of different countries coming there too. Like, Guatemala, Venezuela, all these motherfuckers. They be coming up through Mexico, but they be from all over the place. So you got all these people sending money back to whatever different country their family came from.
Illegal is getting goods and services from Social Security.
That's not what I said. I didn't say from Social Security, but
So now we're not just. Well, you just told me we were only talking about Social Security. So
I
that's
am,
what you're talking-
but,
oh, okay.
but you mischaracterized my argument. So my argument would just be simply, if there's millions more who aren't paying in than are, I don't understand why you're using that as some kind of ideal of, well, this is actually a good thing because they're paying millions of dollars to the federal government.
Yeah, if you
when there's millions
increase
more who aren't.
Yeah, if you increase the amount of people paying into Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, it diversifies the amount of people. It means that there's more people paying in, which means there's less taken out per capita because we have more people paying in.
I see.
It's a good thing.
And can you answer me a question? Do we spend more money per year on Social Security than we take in?
Social Security, we are not allowed to spend more money on Social Security than we take in. However, the government regularly borrows from it, and so we pay interest on Social Security.
So we're
the
paying
government
more?
has stolen from. Yeah, and I'm against that too.
So to get this right, what your plan is actually, the entailment of your plan is that you would give millions more people Social Security numbers who then the government would borrow against, and we would actually increase our debt because we spend more money per year on Social Security than we get out of Social Security. So, but hang on, by your metric then, if that's the case and you just agreed that it was, then I would say that that would be a negative, and negative outcomes are to be avoided when we can because that's bad and immoral.
I actually didn't
And that's according to his own definition of negative
agree to any of that. Just because there's more.
or harm.
Just because there's more money in Social Security doesn't mean that the government will borrow from it. The government has a spending
Okay,
problem.
can you tell me the last year the government didn't borrow from Social Security? Can you tell me the last year the government didn't borrow from Social
Let
Security?
me just finish my statement before you freak the fuck
Go
out.
ahead,
Andrew.
RTP.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the government doesn't have to steal from Social Security. They don't have to.
But do
in fact, I think that we should actively work on electing people who
Mhm.
promise not to steal from Social Security.
Yeah, can you tell me how much can you give me the last Democrat administration who didn't borrow from Social Security?
Probably not. I'm not a Democrat though.
Yeah, well, can you give me the last Democrat or even Republican that didn't borrow from Social Security?
I don't think anybody in my lifetime hasn't borrowed from Social
So
Security.
then would it stand to reason then that the trend would continue, that the government would continue to borrow money from Social Security and then accrue interest on that, thus actually, creating more in the way of debt, meaning that they're paying out more than they're taking in because they've accrued this additional debt?
No, because they're not taking the debt. The Social Security is not the debt. The reason that the government takes from Social Security is because it's somebody who will lend to them. Maybe if we were a little more strict on Social Security, they couldn't lend from Social Security. But I've seen no evidence that any amount of budgeting is ever going to stop our federal government from overspending. I don't think this is a very good argument. I don't think it's a good argument
Well,
to say
that's-
if more,
that's totally-
if more people pay into
that's
Social
totally
Security,
fair.
therefore the government will spend more money. I think that's pretty
He doesn't think that borrowing from Social Security it increases the debt. I don't know why.
fucking loose.
Okay, then all you got to do is show me the instance or the year in which the government was not taking in the Social Security payments from all of the benefactors and borrowing against it, thus creating debt. And
I think you're drawing.
would
I
love
think
for
you're
you to
drawing
do
a
that.
correlation without a causation there. I don't think that you could say that our net receipts for Social Security is why the government goes into more debt. I think you'd have a really hard time proving that
Then why don't they put it in a lockbox?
because they didn't listen to Al Gore. I don't know.
Why don't they?
Because they don't want to. They want to keep borrowing from it
Why?
Yeah.
because it's money that comes in every year.
So,
So
they
you're saying-
wanted. So hang on.
Yeah.
So to get this right,
Yeah, they get a lot of like public benefits and services that they're not really paying into. So we actually end up spending more money on them. And we can't even really track like if they were like, putting money in taxes, like they talk about sales tax and all this other shit or whatever. It's like we can't properly quantify that. Like we don't really, most of the time you don't know who's an illegal immigrant when they're paying like sales tax.
government wants to borrow all this Social Security money that comes in every year, which accrues debt, meaning that they're actually spending more money than they're paying, or I'm sorry, than they're getting. Right? They're spending more money than they're getting from Social Security by borrowing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
But they're
So
going to
then-
spend it. They're going to spend it.
Hang on, I just want to point this. I just want to point out. Well, they won't spend it if it's not there, right?
Yes,
They'd have to
will.
borrow
They'll
from
just-
somewhere
Yeah,
else.
they'll just sell more They'll sell more Treasury bonds.
Yeah. So under your
And they'll sell it to billionaires.
So
and
under
they're interest to
your
billionaires instead of to Social
so
Security.
then under this economic plan, it actually makes no sense because what you're saying is that all you would do is accrue more Social Security numbers for the government to accrue more debt from as they borrow against it.
No, I think
Okay,
that's-
tell
I
me
think
how
that's
that
so
doesn't work.
fucking loose.
Tell me
Because
how
I
it doesn't
think
work that way.
I don't think there's any evidence that says if the government started taking in less Social Security that they would borrow less money. They would just borrow it from somebody else.
I'm sorry. Hang on. So you're just saying that they would move to borrowing elsewhere, right?
Yes, they will sell
then that
Treasury
particular
bonds.
source,
They'll sell Treasury bonds.
and that's bad, right?
What do you mean that's bad?
Well, according to this is not to be desired or approved of. Yeah.
What's not? Selling
The
Treasury
fact-
bonds?
No, the fact that they would borrow from some other device other than Social Security.
What?
Not that's dead ass. They got all these kids and the taxpayers down. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then they talk about how it's so hard to raise a family, you know, with one income. I wonder why.
Dude, I don't know how to make this any clearer.
Are you saying now I'm saying that borrowing is bad? Is that where we're at now? My claim
Well,
is
you
now
said that
evolved
borrowing from Social
mass
Security is
deportations
bad.
do more harm than good. No, you said that. You brought that up.
Borrowing from well, then why would you want it in a lockbox?
You brought up the lockbox.
And you said we should do it.
No, you said why don't they? And I said they don't listen to Al Gore.
Okay, so then they should borrow from Social Security?
No, I don't think they should borrow at all. But that's just economically. I don't think that's like sometimes you need to borrow money. Like when we go to war, sometimes we have to borrow money. Sometimes we need to borrow money. We don't always have to borrow money.
Okay, got it. So do you think we shouldn't borrow money?
No, sometimes we should. Sometimes we shouldn't.
Okay, so do you think that we should be borrowing money from Social Security?
Only if we absolutely have to.
Okay, so then we should avoid it because after all, that would create a negative outcome, and we
Sure.
should avoid those when we can, right?
Sure, and if you increase the action that I have a problem with is them borrowing from Social Security. You're basically this argument can be used to say we should no longer collect taxes at all. We should no longer be able to borrow money at all. And maybe that's your position, which I don't know if you're libertarian. Is that your position that you can't borrow money at all?
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just wondering.
No, he's holding you to your own definition of harm.
No.
I mean, I would be far more comfortable with that, but I'm not. That doesn't mean that I should abandon an immigration position because it gives the government access to more
I'm
money.
not saying you should abandon the immigration position, but you should abandon the immigration position that the government's going to intake far more money based on the fact that if we issue people Social Security numbers, people will pay into Social Security because, and here's why you should abandon
I
that
never made
position.
that. That wasn't my claim.
Well,
Again,
okay,
I
then
don't
why
think- I
should
don't-
we
I
why
don't
should we
think you
give all
listened
these
to- I
illegal
don't think you
immigrants?
listened- I
Then
don't think you
why
listened to
okay,
anything
then
I
why
said
should we
in
give
my
all
opening
of these
statement.
then why should we give all these illegal immigrant Social Security numbers again?
Because it makes the most fiscal sense.
Why?
It
There's
makes
a,
him.
do I gotta read the opening statement again?
Because they
One,
pay in,
they
right?
They pay in.
Mhm.
Two, if they are here legally, they're more likely to report things like crime. They invest into the schools locally.
Yeah, but let's just start with
they
Social
create-
Security.
Okay,
So on Social Security, you
Yeah, he just tried to gish gallop.
want them to pay in on Social Security, right?
sure,
And you want them to get the benefits of Social Security back out.
sure.
But if it's the case that when the government borrows from Social Security and they're giving them these outward payouts after we give them Social Security numbers, the government's going more into debt, this would go into your rule that would be a negative outcome and we should avoid those when we can.
I think that borrowing is not as much of a negative outcome against Social Security.
Oh, so increasing the debt isn't that much of a negative outcome. Okay, now he's kind of arguing against his own position. Because I mean, like, borrowing means debt, which means number go down, negative. You know.
Okay, why?
Because it's money that gets paid back.
So wait a second, at interest?
Yeah, at interest.
Okay, then that would be a negative outcome which should be avoided because it deliberately hurts the economy. That's
But
your
not all
metric for
negative.
bad.
But not all negative outcomes are the same. What you-
Well,
we-
then we're
we no
back to
longer-
your
we no
definition of
longer-
bad.
Big bang against. I knew he was gonna get him here. Like, this might even go from a circle from here on. I do I do kind of want to see the rest of this. Let's just see if they can finish up this exchange real quick.
Bad.
We can no
Deliberately
longer-
hurting the economy, according to you,
we
is
can no
bad.
longer- We can no longer decide what. Oh yeah, so just all things are bad or good, and that's
According
it.
to
That's the whole
you.
fucking thing.
According to you. According to you.
This is why he tried to lay out what was bad, what is harm, early on.
Discussion about
I'm
what-
giving you
what
the
is most
discussion.
sensible thing to do.
Yes.
That's what I want to do, and I think the problem.
Yeah.
that we
So
have
how?
there-
Yeah. So you said
I'm trying to tell you.
your definition of bad. I'm gonna. This is why we could clear out the semantics, but you're so fucking stupid. I can be at the mercy
Yeah.
of them. Deliberately
No,
hurting
you're just a bitch about
deliberately
this. You
hurting
wanna
the
talk about
economy.
definition of bad all fucking day.
Yeah,
This is such a
sorry.
big shit. It really
Sorry.
is bitchy
You can be
as
as mad as you want, bro,
I'm
but
not
it's not
mad.
going to make you win. Yes, it should be avoided. You say yes. It will have a negative outcome. Negative outcomes should be avoided
Yeah.
when we can. You say
He said
that
that.
it's
Can't
not.
avoid that
Why can't you avoid it?
because I don't run Congress.
Okay, well then I guess
Oh my fucking god.
I guess we can't
I
give
guess it's
illegal
like
Social
definition,
Security
doesn't
numbers then because you don't run Congress.
No, I can't.
No, I didn't say you. I said we.
Yeah, you and I cannot. Do that.
Okay,
That's
great.
correct.
So then illegals will never get Social Security numbers because we don't run Congress. What a
No,
great
it's because
argument.
you guys are afraid of brown people. I think that's mostly what it is.
Okay,
Oh
I'm
my
willing to dive
fucking
into that
God.
argument as well. What have I said tonight that said that I was afraid of brown people, and what do Republicans do that makes them afraid of brown people?
I said you guys in reference. It just seems like you're afraid of
Oh,
brown
it
people.
seems like that, does it?
It does,
Oh,
yeah.
Can you justify those seemings with
I said-
something more tangible?
Yeah, I said it in my opening statement. I said that I feel like you guys are you're unwilling to engage about policy and about prescriptions.
That's
And
exactly what we're engaging
and it seems, and I just said I'm kind of left when you won't engage in anything that I said other than let's
Engaging in
define
everything.
good and bad. And you don't want to debate. You don't want to engage in this debate. And I know like what your principles are. I've heard you debate before. Like you want your view to rule. You like the force principle. You think that your tiny minority of people should be like the ruling class, and people should rule that think like you. And I don't know why you have a problem with this. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Explain to me why you want all these people deported if economically it's going to hurt us.
So here's the thing. I'm willing.
All right. So I'm gonna wrap it up right here for now. But I think I'm gonna be back for a part 2 for this one because I'm definitely gonna, if I don't do a part 2, I'm gonna have to finish it myself anyway. So I'll try to try to get the part 2 out. Probably get it out by tomorrow. Like, I'll probably wrap this up tomorrow. But I'm gonna go catch Hotel's Been Told You. I'm already a little late here, so hopefully I ain't missed nothing good. Though I probably missed something. I'm probably gonna catch up a little bit, speed it up, and then catch up to whatever they talking about now. But yeah, this has been another logical analysis. I'm still not sure whether or not Trump's deportations are good or bad. I'm joking. Like that's I don't really care. he is. Thank you, man. Thank you. You know, I'm trying. But we'll see. We'll see whether this guy will really be able to tell us in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. We'll see if the dirty lib can give us a actual definition of what is bad and stick to it. Because right now it's looking rough. I didn't know this was gonna be so funny. Like, bro doesn't know what good or bad is. He doesn't know what good is. I don't know what good is. I just know it's not I don't see any good. I don't think it's doing any good, but I don't know what good is. It's this is the level of intelligence we're working right here. So this is gonna be pretty entertaining, but it's also pretty painful at the same time. So I would have probably wrapped it up at this time anyway, because I can only take so much torture. So I will catch you, beautiful people, next time. Thank you for joining me.